In each life, some rain will fall. I'll show you how to plan for emergencies so you don't get wet. Welcome back to Ready Budget Go. My name is Drew, and on this channel, we talk about cash budgeting, saving money, and reaching our financial goals. If that sounds like something you're interested in, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, and leaving a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Today, what I want to talk about is building up an emergency fund. And an emergency fund is exactly what it sounds like. It is a pile of money that you have in reserves in case the unexpected happens. An emergency fund should be kept in a liquid account, either in straight up in cash or in investments that are easily liquidated. So that would be things like government bonds, certificates of deposit, some savings bonds, but not all. Anything that you can get your hands on money very quickly to deal with an emergency. If you have it tied up in an investment and it will take a while to either sell something or to take out a loan on something to free up cash, then it's not really something that you want as part of your emergency fund. It's fine to have those investments, but it's not something you should be relying on as a ready source of cash. So for me, I keep my emergency fund in Wealthfront, which is sort of a hybrid between a savings account and an investment account. Currently, I earn 4.5%, which in these markets is pretty good. I expect that rate will go down because of the recent Fed rate cut. I'm expecting that within the next week or so, I'll be shaving a quarter point off that, but that's still very competitive. And so in terms of building up an emergency fund, I want to go over the tracker of how I'm tracking toward my goal and also how I built up that goal in the first place. So let's talk about how I determined how much I was going to need first. This is my emergency fund builder worksheet. It's available on my Etsy shop, and if you purchase the worksheet, you also get the tracker along with it. As with all of my worksheets, it's available in two versions that you get both. It's color and black and white, and you get a version that is got extra margin on the left if you want to hole punch it on the left, and another version that has extra margin on the right if you want to hole punch it on the right. So it works with any kind of binder, whether it's 3-ring, disc bound, hole punched on left, hole punched on the right, it's up to you. So this worksheet has all of the categories that you're going to need for an emergency fund. It doesn't include every budget category. For example, there's no entertainment here, there's no vacation planning here. These are the only things that most people are going to need to cover on a monthly basis. So I'm going to start at the top, and before I go into the categories, I'll just show you what my amount is for what I need and what I have. So my emergency fund, what I've determined that I need in an emergency fund is a little over $12,000. And when I started this, when I filled out this worksheet a couple of months ago, my balance was about $6,100. I've made a couple more deposits since then, and I also got an interest payment. So now I'm getting close to $6,800. And I'll show you how I'm going to account for that in the tracker. But for now, let's keep going and take a look at how I built up the amount that is here in the $12,000. So the first category that I have in the tracker, or in the worksheet rather, is housing. Housing is by far my biggest expense. In fact, you can see here that more than half of the total amount of what I have determined I need to save is going toward housing. I live in a high cost of living area, and that's just what the market rent is here. So my rent payment here, this is what I currently pay. It will go up next year. When it does, I will come back to the tracker, I will make adjustments, and then I will adjust my goal. But for now, this is what I need to cover a month's worth of rent. I also have my insurance here. I have decided that I need 3 months worth of expenses. That is what I feel comfortable with. If an emergency lasts more than 3 months, then I'm to the point where I'm willing to sell investments. I am willing to liquidate other things that I have built up, other assets, in order to free up cash. But just to weather any events, any storms that come through my life for the short term, about 3 months is what I'm good for. So I've taken my monthly expense, multiplied that by 3, and then I've added this to it's part of the target total. So that's housing. Next category is utilities. Now for me, I live again in the Pacific Northwest, so electricity is fairly cheap here. This is about my average bill. In fact, it's a little higher than my average bill. And again, I'm saying I need 3 months, so about $120 in total. And then for everything else, I receive a consolidated bill every month that covers natural gas, it covers water sewer, it covers garbage pickup, it covers pest control. There's a lot of things rolled into it. I have been tracking every month about how much I'm spending, and this works out to somewhere between the mean average and the high side of the budget, just to make sure that I'm covered. So about $230, again, 3 months worth, just under $700. The next category is transportation. Now, I don't drive, so I don't have a car payment, I don't have insurance, I don't have fuel costs, but I do take public transportation. This is the cost of a 1-month bus pass. I normally don't buy a bus pass, but if I'm in a situation where I need to constantly be taking transit, then I want to make sure that I have that available. So I've planned in for that. Other transportation, about $100. This is if I need a Lyft ride or an Uber ride or something like that. I've got that covered here, again, for 3 months. And so that works out to about $650 for me. Communications is next. So I've planned for 3 months worth of my cell phone bill and 3 months worth of my internet bill. I don't have a home phone, but if I did, I would account for that here as well. These numbers are both a little bit higher than what I pay currently, but as everyone knows, your phone and internet bills can go up just about any time. So I want to make sure that I'm covered in case that happens. And like with everything else, planning for 3 months, so about $350. Okay. Next category is health. Now, for this, I have not planned for anything for any of these categories. And I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. Number one, life insurance. I don't have any dependents. There's no one else who is dependent on my income. So I don't carry life insurance beyond what my company provides through the group plan. And that is a premium that I don't pay for. It just comes out of my pay. But medical, prescriptions, anything else, I have a health savings account because I'm on a high deductible plan. And I've been contributing to that health savings account, maxing it out for a number of years. So if, for example, something catastrophic were to happen, number one, I would be covered by my short-term disability and my long-term disability. So I would be getting payments for that, but I would also have my HSA, and that would cover up to my out-of-pocket maximum. So in other words, if I need a significant amount of medical care or a significant amount of prescriptions, my health insurance will kick in at the catastrophic level after I hit my stop loss. And up to that amount, which is something like $6,000, $7,000, I have that much and more in my health savings account. So I'm not planning anything additional here. Food, I've planned for $600 a month. That is a lot, especially on emergency rations, but it wasn't that long ago that $50 a week was plenty to feed one person. That's not the case anymore, and food continues to go up. So I'm not just planning for what food costs today, but what food might cost in the event of an emergency. So I've put in $600 a month, 3 months, about $1,800. Okay. Childcare, I don't have children, so I'm not planning for that. Household expenses, $50 a month. This is significantly more than what I already pay, but this covers everything from toilet paper to laundry detergent to deodorant, anything like that. I've put in $50 here. Again, just planning for the absolute worst case scenario, and $150 for 3 months should be plenty. Pets, I don't have any of those, so these are blank. And then miscellaneous and other, I've put in a $2,000 sort of buffer or slush fund or whatever you want to call it, just to cover anything that I didn't already account for here, any inflation, any cost increases. I just want a little bit extra cushion just to make sure that everything is okay. So I'm not doing this per month. I don't expect $2,000 worth of Bluebird expenses per month, but just as a one-time thing or a lump sum amount, I've put in $2,000. So when I total all of that up, that brings me to the $12,209 that is up here. Again, when I did this worksheet a couple of months ago, I was about halfway to my goal, a little more than halfway now. And so now I'm going to fill in the tracker so that I have a visual representation of how close I am to reaching my goal. Here's the emergency fund tracker. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in each of these lines to represent 10% of my emergency fund. So I'm going to start with the total here at the top, and I'm going to round up just a little bit because it makes the numbers easier to work with. So my total here was $12,209. I'm actually going to put in $12,210, And then I'm going to break that down into 10 different equal segments. So I'm going to start down here at 1,221, 10% of the total, and I'm going to add in another $1,221 for each of these lines to represent another 10%. So I'll fill all of these in, and I'll be right back. All right, so that's all of them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the tracker for how far up the beaker I've gotten. I've already colored in the exclamation mark symbol here yellow. You don't have to, it'll come white. And then I'm going to fill in the rest in red to show how far up I've gotten. So as I mentioned earlier, my balance when I started was 6,166. I'm now at 6,790. So that gets me up to this line. So that's how far up the beaker I'm going to color. So I'm just going to take out my ruler here, and I'm going to set it here because I am not an artist. In fact, I have to turn this on its side to be anything close to accurate. So just make that even. And I'm using highlighters because they don't bleed. These are Sharpie, what are they called? Sharpie S-Notes. And I mean, there's a little bit of bleed through the paper, and this is 24-pound paper, but if I were to use a regular Sharpie or an alcohol-based marker, it would be soaking wet. So highlighters are the way to go. So I'm just going to keep filling this in, and I will be back when I am all done. Okay. So that's the tracker filled in. I'm just going to do a couple of quick little touch-ups here. And that brings me to where I am in the tracker. Now, with my regular deposits of about $400 a month, I should be to here by the end of next year. But I've set kind of a stretch goal for myself to fill in the whole emergency fund for next year. Of course, that assumes that I won't have any emergencies. I am totally willing to spend down my emergency fund if it comes to it, rather than taking on debt, rather than trying to get around it in some other way. I'll just spend the money if I have to. But it's at least good to know that the money is there, that I have it in reserves, and that I can get to it easily if the situation warrants it. I want to thank you for spending some time with me today, and a special thank you for watching all the way to the end. Again, if you're interested in the Emergency Fund Builder Worksheet and the tracker, they're available in my Etsy shop as a bundle, and the link is down in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, leave a comment down below, and share with your friends. Until I see you next time, take care.